So Season 5 for Battlefield 2042 has been a little bit of a weird one, and today I wanted to just talk about what is next for the game. It's all a little bit up in the air at the moment, and I think it is actually really interesting to think about, so I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on it. Now, if you guys are enjoying the Battlefield content, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. There is plenty more content on the way, but with that being said, let's get stuck right into it. Now, the reason I said that Season 5 has been a bit of a weird one is that it has strayed a little bit from the Season 1 to 4 sort of template, in that we didn't get a specialist, as well as the fact that it is the official conclusion of the map reworks. On top of that, the season essentially has seen the completion of 3 main areas, one of those being the reworks that I just mentioned, but there are actually some other areas that have been sort of needing improvement since launch, or even just for a very long time now. Those being the fact that the vault weapons didn't have their attachments, and obviously now, as of the final update for Season 5 in 5.2, all of those vault weapons do have their attachments now, as well as their skins. And then lastly, the squad management system, which has also been missing since launch, it is finally here. So like I said, this season kind of feels like it has concluded a lot of those big fixes that they needed to make. The reworks are something they've been undertaking for well over a year now. The squad management system has been missing since day one, and it's been something that people have been crying out for ever since then. And although the vault weapons and their attachments are maybe a little bit smaller compared to those two, they are obviously still very important. So DICE have really checked 3 very big things off the list there, and in that sense it kind of feels like they have finally completed the game. Now, I don't so much mean that in terms of content. Obviously they can just make unlimited amounts of content if they do decide to do that. There's no limit to how many maps and weapons and all that sort of stuff they can add to the game, but in terms of like getting the game to the state that it really should have been at launch, I think they have actually now finally completed that. I think outside of probably a server browser in All Out Warfare, the game is now in its final form. This is a state that we all kind of wished for at the launch of the game, and although yes, it's nearly taken 2 years, and that is very frustrating to think about, I do think the game is finally in, like I said, its final form. Now, that's not to say that improvements can't be made. Obviously there is still a lot of stuff they can fix and make better than it used to be, but to me they don't really feel like obligations anymore. Now they are just actual improvements. So for example, adding the squad management system, for me that is not an improvement to the game. That is something that is more of an obligation. They sort of had to do that because, let's be honest, what type of Battlefield game or just general shooter does not have some sort of squad management system? And so yes, it does improve the game, therefore it technically is an improvement, but to me I don't think of it in the same way as if they were to fix gunplay or work on the hit reg, for example. Those are genuine improvements, whereas the squad management system was really a missing feature. So the question that I have, I guess, is what are we going to get next? Because they've finished all of those big improvements, not only just in this update, but pretty much over the last few years. There's been a lot of stuff they have finally added to the game. When you think about stuff like the stat screen and the VoIP, there's a lot of stuff that was really missing at launch that they have finally added, and this again feels like the conclusion of that. So what are they going to do with that extra time? Does that mean we're going to get more content per season? Obviously it might not be the same teams that work on that stuff, but does that mean we'll get 2 maps instead of 1? Do we get 5 new weapons instead of 3? That's kind of the question that I have here, because it doesn't really make sense if they just come out with the same as what we've been getting in previous seasons, but instead we're not getting a map rework, we're not getting a specialist anymore too. And so if every season is just like 1 map, 3 weapons, and then, you know, a little mid-season event, and that's all we get every 3 months, that just doesn't feel right to me. Because at least, even though the map reworks, for example, it's a shame they had to do that because the base maps were so poor at the beginning of the game, it has still been a positive change for the game. So it's still almost new content coming each season, even though it is obviously very drip fed and it really shouldn't have been there in the first place, but at least it was something. Now if they just remove that, I feel like each season is going to be very, very bland. They already are bordering on being way too little. The fact we only get 1 new map per season is already a bit of a shambles, if you ask me, and so the fact that we could be getting even less is definitely not exciting to think about. If we do get more content per season, is that going to be 2 maps per season? Is it going to be 3? It's impossible to actually know because they haven't actually set any standards for that. Like I said, season 1 through 4, we kind of knew what we were getting, and that's why I think season 5 has been a bit of a weird one, because none of us really know where we're at right now. And that's the part that is not only kind of exciting because it could be a positive thing, but it's also a little bit worrying because, like I said, we could actually be getting less content per season now. The other thing to think about on top of that too is that, do we even get more content beyond season 6? We obviously know that as of right now, now, they haven't technically confirmed anything beyond that. Little things that they've hinted at do kind of point towards it seeming like there's going to be more seasons, or at least more content after that, whether they take the form of a regular season or just like monthly updates. I'm not too sure. But again, is that something we're going to get, or are they just going to come out with season 6 and then it's going to end in a similar way to how Battlefield 5 did, where it finally got to like the finished state of the game and people were finally happy and they went, well, we're going to bounce and start working on the next game. So it is all very, very hard to tell what is to come. It could be really amazing. Like I said, we could actually get more maps per season now or something, but on the flip side, they could literally cancel the game after the next season. Either of those alternatives is entirely possible, as well as just the possibility of the exact same amount of content that we're getting right now, but also technically less, because like I said, there's no reworks, there's no specialists, and there's probably even less portal weapons to pull from too. The game definitely feels a little bit up in the air to me right now, and I'm essentially posing the question to you guys: what do you think happens next? Are you guys confident we get content beyond season 6? And if we do you think we're going to get more content per season, or do you think it'll be pretty much the same as it has been, or potentially even less? I'm keen to hear your thoughts down in the comments, so be sure to let me know. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.